Life Skills Lesson 3, Budgeting. What's a budget? A budget is the amount of money we have and are able to spend on what we want and need. Budgeting means thinking about what we need and want to buy, and then doing the math to figure out how much money we actually have and how we should spend, and then maybe not spend it. Back to self-study again. What do you do with your money? What do you pay for every day, every week, every month? Do you get an allowance? Does a parent or a guardian or somebody else send you or give you the same amount of money at a certain amount of time? Do you have a job and a paycheck comes in? How do you pay for what you buy? Budgets work by adding up all the money you have or are paid and then subtracting all the expenses or prices of what you buy. Sounds pretty simple, right? Main rule, spend less than what you make. You cannot spend more than what you have. So everybody's budget might look completely different. Here is a little example in this pie chart of a budget for a household. So 10% for savings, 25% for food, 15% for transportation, 10% for medicine, 25% for tuition and fees at school, and 15% for utilities. So depending on what it is that's most important in your life, or depending on how much money you get, you're going to have to figure out these slices of pie differently. So say you're very sick and you need a lot of medicine and a lot of hospital visits or doctor's visits, and even with insurance, you're going to be spending more on average than anybody else who is relatively healthy. So in that case, you might need to change this slice of pie from 10% on medicine or health-related fees to something much larger. It could be 25%. It could be more than that. So if that happened, you would have to cut down one of the other pieces of pie. So maybe sell your car and ride the bus, change that transportation fee. Maybe drop out of school and not have that schooling bill to pay for. These are kind of rash or intense decisions, big life changes, but money is real and you might have to make those kinds of choices. So to repeat, as I just mentioned, if one piece of the pie gets bigger, another piece has to get smaller, or you have to coax some more money into the situation. You could get more jobs, you could generate more cash, or you could get rid of some of the things that you are spending money on. Very important, don't forget about the emergency fund. Save some money every paycheck if you can in emergency savings. You never know when your car will break or your pet will get sick or you will need to make a trip to see a family member. Not having the money for an emergency could ruin the budget you've set up and cause a lot of problems. Try to be prepared. When money seems to disappear. Have you ever had money and felt like you had plenty, and then you only had $1 or $2 left, or it seemed to just suddenly all be gone? You pull out your wallet and you thought you had 30 bucks in there, but there's only 5. Or you check in your checking account and you thought you had $200, $300 and you have $25. That's a pretty huge mistake. Has this happened to you? It's happened to me. It's easy to lose track of what you have and overestimate the amount of money you have left. How could you avoid this problem? Sometimes we have to give up things we want in order to stay on budget. But we can also compromise and give up some items and still buy other luxuries. So a luxury is something that you don't really need, but it's fun and nice and maybe extravagant to get it. So for me, I love fancy coffees that are basically just like a milkshake. These coffees, though, frappuccinos and icy, slurpy kind of coffees, they can be really expensive. They can be like $5, $6. And if you were to have one every day, that's $5, $6 7 times a week. It starts to add up. And by the end of the month, you could have $100 that you spent on just drinks. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing, because the drinks are gone. So we might have to give up something like your daily coffee. Doesn't mean you have to give up coffee in general, but maybe you make your coffee at home. It's a little more affordable. Can you still go out to Starbucks or your local cafe and grab a coffee? Sure, but maybe don't do it every day and see what kind of change that makes in your budget. So start to identify your needs and wants. What are luxuries, things that you don't really need, and what are needs that you actually have to have? Do you need shoes? Yeah, probably. Do they have to be Gucci shoes? Probably not. Do you need food, groceries? Yes, you need to eat food. Please do. Do you need water? Yes. Does it have to be Evian water, purchased water every single time? Does it have to be the finest organic food? Does it have to be special cheeses from Europe? No. Can you maybe buy some bargain food? And even if you're on a pretty big budget crunch, can you make foods that are a little bit cheaper or last for the whole week? Yeah, you can do those things. You don't need a television to survive. You don't need a car to survive. You don't need candy to survive. Um, but depending on your situation, you might need some of these things more than other people. So yes, maybe you need transportation to get to your job so that you can buy food. But does it have to be a Lamborghini? No, that part is negotiable. Same with the Gucci shoes. Figure out what matters to you, what you need to take into account, and figure out what you're willing to pay for or what's necessary. What are some of the consequences or things that could happen if you don't stay on budget? If you don't stay on budget, you might not be able to pay a bill or multiple bills. And when that happens, you might be charged a late fee. If you don't pay your bills for a number of times, the service could stop being provided. You'll lose your gas, your heat, your water. You might be evicted from your home if you don't pay your rent. It can be very embarrassing and a difficult emotional process to deal with losing these important things that you need to survive. Here are just a few small, easy ways you could save money. Make lunches or dinners rather than eating out. Turn off and unplug your appliances when you aren't using them. Make gifts rather than buy things for people. Shop with a list. Or employ a 30-day rule. If you walk into Target and see something and you're just overwhelmed with how great it is, instead of buying it just because you saw it and it would feel really good to get it in that moment, maybe wait 30 days and see if that itch sticks with you. A lot of the times it won't. Brainstorm some other ideas. Every little bit helps. What could you change? What could you do differently? How could you save? Take a look at the sample budget sheet that follows and research, then write out costs that you might need to cover in a month. Add whatever extras you might want and see how much money might be necessary for the type of life you want. Here's the budget sheet. You can fill in what expenses might be. How much would it cost to have certain things done? Get your hair cut, take your car in for an oil change, pay your rent. You can mark your income, any other incomes that come in, and then just do the simple math, adding and subtracting.